Right, let's have a quick look at our gearbox before it goes back in. The kickstart teeth are fine, as is the teeth on the ratcheting part. The gear change lever has got a very slight bend at the end, but I'm sure it's perfectly usable. Our teeth here, which push this up and down, are all completely unmarked and square. Our little rollers are there. There is no sign of any wear along the tracks, which they often go on the, particularly on the curved edges, the wear away is absolutely unmarked. Shafts are good. All the teeth are unmarked, no chips, no gouges, no sign of anything going through the case hardening. So the gearbox is going to go back in complete. Now, I was going to leave that until the engine was in the frame and the bike was up on its stand. But as that's not going to happen now, I'm going to have to put the box in before I drop the engine in. So I think that's what we'll look at next. Right, first up, top gear's got to go through the bearing at the back here. We should just push through. Just with a gentle tap. Which it doesn't want to do, so let me apply some additional lubrication to encourage it. Let's try again. There we go. Lovely. Our detente spring and plunger goes in. And then if my memory serves me right, that's it. I need a gasket and a bolt on. So let me find a gasket and I'll just give that a wipe down some degreaser again because it's got a bit mucky from sitting. Right, no gasket. I looked in the book. I don't know why I thought there was one, but there's not. Just giving a very light smear of sealant to keep things sealed up in the box. Although I did notice the gasket set's missing the gasket for the other side where the sprocket fits, which is pretty poor show for something that's meant to be a complete gasket set, but never mind. Who am I to complain? So I'm in your way slightly, but I've got no choice because I've got to try and guide this in. Which looks like it's going to be easier said than done. Right, something's holding that off and I don't know what it is. Yes, I do. It is that. Try again. There we go. Yes, that was in the wrong position. It still doesn't want to go. me turn you off, I'll have to investigate further. Right, it's holding off slightly, but that's because I've discovered that if you get hold of the output shaft and wiggle it, it does that, and we're in. So let me just get a nut and a washer on there just to stop it coming back out again. Right, we'll go around and tighten all those up now, and then we'll come back and do the oil pump and the other bits around here before I seal it all up. Right, onto the oil pump now. Excuse me while I kick the camera. I'll put the driving pinion onto the crank. There's a Woodruff key, just pushes in, pushes on, with the timing dot on the outside, so we can align things up. Assuming that's what that is anyway. And then we have a distance piece, which I seem to remember I couldn't get off when the oil pump was there. Now then, I don't know whether this oil pump's going to go on independently, it's cleaned up, ready to go, or whether the two parts are going to have to go on together. I don't really know. So we have a new gasket, which I think I'm just going to grease, to be honest. I don't want any gasket goo around the oil pump for obvious reasons, so I think I'll just grease this one, which fits on, I'm assuming. No, I don't know if we've got it right hole. Like that. Doesn't seem to want to go on. A bit tight on that stud. Right. Now, before we get carried away, yes, although that's off centre slightly, it's not blocking any holes. Good. Right, the back of the pump's cleaned. I made sure everything's alright in the pump. Turns freely, it pumps. I checked pumping, put some fluid in and checked it. It's all working. So, we then have a ball and spring, which I think fits next to that stud from memory. Yeah, pretty certain that goes in there. Oh. Yeah, pretty certain that goes in there, can't go in there. Could go in that one, but it's not that one, it's definitely up there. Yep, and that's got the seat in for the ball, so I'm not being daft. So a little bit of grease on the ball to encourage it to sit there whilst we're working. And a bit more grease on the gasket. Right, so I keep kicking the camera because there's so little room around this. So my question was whether that needs to go on first. So let's try it. It's left-hand thread if I remember rightly. Obviously yeah, there we go. if that'll fit on with that there. Making sure I don't lose the little ball. Which is precisely what's happened. Right. Try again. A bit more grease. The grease should just disappear when it gets hot oil on it. No. As I thought. Okay. Obviously, it must go on after the oil pump's in place. Should really look at the workshop manual. That would be what a sensible person does. But I'm not sensible. I always think I know what I'm doing, and I very rarely do. So, try again. Right. So, will that then go on? Turn the pump. No, it won't. Oh, bomb. Why won't that turn? I thought that would wind in. Try this in case it's my lack of strength in my fingers. Nope. Pull that out slightly. Nope. Oh, I thought I had it then. There we go. So as I suspected, it does walk in together. Right. Good. Good. Right. Let me go find the nuts and washers and I'll be back to put this on and tighten everything up. Right, we have a washer under each of the two locking nuts. according to the manual. And then we have a tab washer under our plain nut. Which is three-sided. Not sure which way it's meant to fit, but anyway. That goes like that. I've nipped that up all the way. So then there's a locking washer goes on there. And that nut goes on there. Or it goes across the table when I can't fit it properly. So that needs to be locked up against that and a corner bent over. Easier said than done. Right, let's try that first. Let me just find the locking thing for the crank. Right, I've torqued that and knocked over the locking washer. And now we need to torque the oil pump securing nuts, which are 8 to 12, I think it is said in the book, but anyway, we shall see. That's in fact, I might redo those. I'm not very happy with them, to be honest. So I'll just slacken them off and redo them, because you don't want the pump body being under any unnecessary strain. So let's just wind them by hand and just double check that. Right, as I say, I don't want to take any risk with an oil pump. So, is everything turning freely? Yes, it is. Excellent. Put our covers back on to make sure nothing falls inside our engine. Right, now then, we have an intermediate shaft to go in. Which needs to be timed to the cam and the crank. We have our pressure relief valve to go in. Before we fit our oil pressure relief valve though, we should really have a look at it. You have the main body, which screws in with a washer, and there's a fine gauze which obviously has to be cleaned. There is apparently a similar size one with a coarse gauze, which is designed for the triples apparently, I've been told. But anyway, I'm reusing the original one, so that doesn't really matter, but had I been buying one it would have been important. And then inside that body sits a piston, which has to be checked carefully for scoring, gouging, gumming up, anything that's going to stop it working properly. This one is in perfect condition. Could be new, like the rest of the internals I've found so far. And then we have a spring which controls the pressure. So when the oil forces against the piston, the spring basically determines the pressure it's going to release at. Again, because it's untouched and a very low mileage bike, I've no intention of changing it. There's probably a measurement for that. I haven't bothered looking, as I say, because it is all like new. So I will lightly oil that. That will go in there like that. It will do if you put it in square anyway. There we go. Spring goes like that, cap goes like that. And it all goes into the bike, as we shall see in 1 second. And then physically next to the oil pressure relief valve, there is the sender unit for the warning light on the instruments. Again, this one's in good condition. The terminal's slightly bent, but still securely riveted. So I have no reason to suspect that it's not working. And the obvious way is just to bung it in and see if it does, which is precisely what I'm going to do. Which can go in now. Now then, which spanner did I use to tighten that up? Not that one. Right, I can't find whatever it was. However, my diesel injection socket for Citroens fits perfectly. So that's what I'll use. You add another little washer on there. And then our cap, which is probably the same size looking at it. No, it's not. Is it one of these? Yes, it is. Right. Can't remember what went in there. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. Right. Intermediate wheel. Which I'll just give a little bit of grease on it just to give it some protection while it's sitting. So we have 2 marks, got a dot there, line there. I've got to try and get these aligned, which is difficult the way the light is. Let me get my torch. Nope. This is easier said than done. That's going to go in there and line up with that, which it is. And then that's got to. It's very close and it won't go in. Oh, bottom. Let me just have a look at the workshop manual. Right, that's a bit more of a faff than I expected. I don't know if you can see this. There's a line there and a line there. So that tooth is between those two, which lines up perfectly with that. which leaves these 2 miles away from each other. But as you rotate the crank, you have a line there, which is in the middle of the tooth. It's got a dot by it. So that is now in a dead straight line. So they line up perfectly when the teeth are meshed. And when you turn it, they line up perfectly when the teeth are in mesh. So that's got to be right. It's peculiar markings. You think they would be able to mark it somehow where it line up better than that. But anyway, on a full rotation, that lines up with that perfectly. That lines up with that perfectly. That's the only way it can be. It looks a lot closer in the workshop manual, but it can't be any other way. So, the only other thing I've got left to do now before we go, because I completely forgot, is having torqued our oil pump nuts, I forgot to do my lock tab, which I'll do now. And then I think it's going to have to go in the frame. Yeah, I think it's going to have to go in the frame.